So I've always had like this interest in reading, which is funny because growing up, I hated reading. I never did the assigned reading that we had in class. The only two books that I actually enjoyed reading in school were Lord of the Flies and Of Mice and Men, which, funnily enough, both deal with male interactions, if that makes any sense. I remember growing up, all my friends would read books like The Immortal Instrument, Twilight, Maximum Ride, and just other fantasy stories that I just couldn't get into. I think I was always a much more visual person. I always preferred comic books, manga, TV shows, but I did always respect literature. And now that I'm older and I've met people like Ty Star Blue, like Tales Up for Toronto, like Jax, who are very, very good storytellers and have beautiful voices in their writing, I have kind of been wanting to see what the gay writing scene is like. This has also been jump-started by our large number of visual novels that we've been covering on the channel, especially two in particular, Jax's The Sound of Summer Thunder and Canticle by Void Mammoth. I think those two in particular just really had a beautiful narrative voice. Now, I went on Amazon and I have Kindle Unlimited, and I was going down trying to find some gay reading content, and of course, I was somewhat sidetracked by gay content written by women for women. That's a whole nother discussion. We're not even going to get into that today. But I came across an author that I became familiar with years ago, the first time I tried a stint at reading gay novellas, books, short stories, whatever you call them. Anthony London. So Anthony London published a few short stories that are available on Kindle Unlimited. He published them between 2013 and 2015. So he hasn't published any new ones, at least not under that same pen name. But he mainly wrote about like gay, Black, erotic stories. I haven't really read too many of them. The only one I've read is the one I'm going to talk about today, which is Booty Milk. What a name for a short story. So Booty Milk kind of encapsulates things I like, but also things I don't like about, at least at the time, how gay media was written, because this is the 2013-2015 area. It follows a gay couple named Jay and Ty in their late 20s living together when Jay's little brother Riley comes over and says, "Hey, I've been kicked out by dad. Can I stay here?" And him staying there, I guess you could say, like, turns their lives upside down, but not really. We'll get there. So the book opens up with Jay looking outside butt naked, and he seems like kind of a cynic. He just sees all the bad things in life, whereas it looks like Ty might be a glass is half full kind of guy. And they're having a little sexual encounter until they hear a knock on the door, and it's Riley. And Riley's basically saying, "Hey, can I stay here? Dad kicked me out." And Jay's kind of like, "Oh my gosh, really? Can't you stay with your girlfriend?" And Riley's like, "I broke up with her. If you were looking at my posts on Facebook, you would know that," which automatically dates this story because I'm like, what 19-year-old posts on Facebook? Like, come on now. Ty comes into the room and Riley greets him, but also makes it known that while he knew that his brother Jay was gay, he didn't think Ty was gay. So he was shocked to see that they're, getting it in, which I guess means that Ty is kind of hetero passing Matt, like more, maybe he's a little more mask. I don't know. They don't really go anywhere with that, but it's there, I guess. So Jay seems to be like a type of freedom fighter. He says that he'll be leading a protest in front of City Hall today. He's going to be very late, and there's a good chance he'll be arrested. Now, he doesn't say what he's going to be in a protest for. I'm assuming it has something to do with civil rights. To which his brother Riley kind of says that he's not going to go to any gay protests. They need to give him a call when they take some real action. I don't know what that means. Like, I guess he's trying to say that gay people fight for stupid stuff. They don't go anywhere else with this either. It's just something that's just kind of brought up. Meanwhile, Ty is basically like, well, I'm going to class, so I'm going to be back around 4. I don't know what time it is. It must be like 8. It must be like 8 a.m. or something. They ask Riley, what are you going to be doing? Are you going to be looking for a job? To which Riley replies, ain't nothing out there worth my time. So Riley's a bum. He ain't going to get no job. He just going to be sitting around watching TV, eating up everybody's food. We cut to 4:30 p.m. when Ty gets back, and he is greeted with Riley butt booty ass naked on the couch. And I think this is where the story starts to kind of take me out a bit, because we as gay men have been around straight men doing questionable things. But I don't really think there's any straight man who would move in with his gay brother and his gay brother's boyfriend and would have no qualms about just being butt naked on the couch and anyone else can just come in. Like, that's wild to me. And it's where you really start to notice that this is much more of a corn story than anything. I wouldn't even say this is like erotica, because I feel like erotica still at least tries to maneuver within the confines of realistic interactions, where this is just about to get very cartoonish. So Riley's excuse for being butt naked on the couch, and when I say butt naked, I mean he has nothing on. His excuse is that he doesn't have any clean clothes. And Ty's like, you could probably just do laundry. And Riley literally says, what's it matter anyway? We family, right? Ain't family supposed to be all comfortable with each other and shit? He says this with his dingling hanging between his legs in full view. Now, I don't know what 19-year-old man would be just comfortable being naked in front of anybody like that, let alone family. But like I said, we're heavily into corn territory at this point. Now, Ty at this point is impressed with what Riley got going on. And he basically, in so many ways, says that Riley is much more impressive to look at than his boyfriend, Jay. Like, he's basically like, I always assumed that Jay was packing bigger and this, that, and the other. But Riley apparently got bigger. Apparently, Riley's got bigger everything down there. The test, the balls, and the penis. This is also when you get the two specific physical descriptors of Riley. We learn that he has dreads and he has a muscular ass. That's all we know about him. He's black, has dreads, and a muscular ass. We really don't know what Ty and Jay look like. Not really. I mean, we know they're all black, but we don't know what their hair or we don't know anything else about them. Meanwhile, Riley's digging in the fridge looking for something to drink. He's looking for beer, and he's just bent over, booty cheeks spread. And of course, Ty is like staring all down up in there. And he starts to feel bad about checking out his boyfriend's younger brother, but in my opinion, not bad enough. So Riley and Ty are sitting on the couch. Riley's got the beer in hand, and Ty's like looking at Riley, but trying not to look at Riley because, he's naked. And Riley apparently jokes, yo, why you staring at me like you want my d-? Ty blushed hard and looked away. Holy shit, I was just playing. But you really do want it, Riley said, laughing. So tell me, how much bigger am I than Jay? What the fuck? Like, this is just... I'm going to sound like a broken record, so I'm just going to leave it at that. I better go, Ty said, ready to jump up. Riley pulled him back down. No need to freak out. It ain't like I'm going to tell Jay or nothing. Tell Jay what? I just don't want to do anything I'll regret, Ty said. What's so bad about lusting after another guy? We all got needs, don't we? Riley said. So I think the story is doing a very bad job at like giving insight onto how Riley feels about gay people. Because, okay, clearly he has no issue with his brother being gay, and he has no issue with his brother's boyfriend. But I feel like at some point there should have been some type of way to establish how he feels about gay interactions, because you can have straight men that have no issue with gay men, but if you're like gay, you know sometimes there's lines that can be crossed. So it's like that's what we're trying to figure out. That's at least what I'm trying to figure out here with Riley. Like what? And it's good. My confusion is going to make a lot more sense the further we get into the story. What exactly are your needs? Ty said, regretting the words as soon as they came out. A huge smile appeared on Riley's face. Without thinking, Ty jumped off the couch and knelt between Riley's legs. And Ty just gives Riley a big old blowy. And one thing that I will say, I can't say it on YouTube, but I did like the descriptions of their interaction. I thought it was very colorful, and you could just really I like the descriptions. I think that is where Anthony London really shines in his writings. His descriptions of the sexual interactions they're really good. Damn, Ty and his magic tongue, Riley said, panting. I told you you get a little piece of Reezy, Riley said, laughing. Oh my God. Yeah, I better go take a shower, Ty said, getting up and walking towards the bedroom. So finally Jay comes home at 11 p.m. and he looked like he just got beat up. Riley's like, what happened to you? To which Jay reveals that they got into a confrontation with the establishment. I still don't know what the hell is going on with whatever Jay's doing. Like I said, it has to be something about civil rights. I would assume this. Are you really sitting on my couch bare ass right now? What are you, 5? Suddenly, Riley sat up in a defensive position. So what if I am? I'm young Reezy. If I wants to sit on the couch bare ass, then I'll sit on the couch bare ass. And if you don't like it, you can suck these nuts, Riley said, grabbing his balls. Okay. Jay rolled his eyes and walked past him. He knew Riley's threats were empty. He could kick his ass if he really wanted to, but he was just too tired and not in the mood. It was better to let Riley just be Riley and deal with it later. He just wanted to get to bed and spend time with Ty. So, in the part of the story that we're about to get into, I feel like Anthony lost the plot, because you're going to see it just kind of goes off the rails. So Jay goes to his room where Ty is sleeping, and he gets in bed with Ty, and he's trying to get all intimate with Ty, and he's basically like, hey, do you want to be the one on top tonight? And Ty kind of tenses up. He's like, oh, not tonight. I don't feel up to it. I'm tired. And, Jay kind of notices something's wrong. So if you're like me, you're thinking, okay, we're about to kind of explore Jay kind of figuring out that Ty's cheating, and who's he cheating with? Oh, it's his brother. Why is he acting like this? Instead, it kind of goes, ooh, I'm not feeling it tonight. And Jay's like, okay, well, what if we have sex this way? And Ty's like, ooh, yeah, I like that. It just seems like to me in this instance that Anthony was probably trying to develop the story, but once he got to the part where he was actually going to need for the characters to have like conflict and struggle that wasn't like sexy, he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna not do that, and they're just gonna be having dirty, nasty sex. Which, I mean, I'm kind of okay with, but it put the story at a full standstill. So they end up having sex, and Jay breaks the news to Ty that he has to go to California for a week or two for work. And, he's thinking that Ty's going to kind of be like, oh, that sucks. But instead, Ty's like, well, then I guess we'll just have to make up for that time right now. And they just get right back into the action. And not only do they get right back into the action, they getting even freakier than the first time they had sex just a few minutes ago. And right here, the story changes from a third person point of view of writing to a first person point of view of writing in just a paragraph. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but one paragraph says, Ty grabbed and squeezed Jay's, and then 2 paragraphs later, in my mind, I was wondering what had gotten into Ty. So we jump from third person to first person perspective, and that is crazy. So now we are in the perspective of Jay all of a sudden. So they have just dirty, freaky sex. And they just say their goodbyes. It's fine. So 6 hours pass since Jay leaves, and we're back in third person perspective. Ty's basically cleaning around the house, cleaning everything up, and Riley's, just sleeping on the couch. So Riley is dreaming, and he is dreaming of him and Ty having very passionate, intimate sex. Riley wakes up in shock and realizes that the dream was so intense that he actually had a wet dream. And he is questioning his sexuality. Could he really be gay? Nah, he had just been spending too much time with his gay ass brother. Yeah, that's it. He just had to get away from his brother for a little bit. He will be fine. I have no comment. Riley ends up asking Ty for some shorts so he can go down to the laundry room in the apartment complex and do laundry, which kind of shocks Ty because Ty's kind of like, oh, you're being responsible and taking initiative? Okay, interesting. Riley also feels the need to reaffirm Ty that he's not gay. He was just having fun yesterday. And Ty is just like, okay, whatever. Just take the boxers, go do your laundry. So now Riley is in the community laundry room struggling to do laundry because he doesn't know how to measure a cup and a half of laundry soap. And this young blonde woman comes in. I hesitate to call her a woman because what happens next makes me think she's some type of space alien. I don't know. This is just really weird. Her name's Lisa. Having trouble, she said in a seductive voice. Being in just his underwear, Riley blushed as the girl came over to him. She poured some soap in his washer. Thanks, Riley said. Don't mention it, the girl said. My name's Lisa, she said. Riley. Suddenly, Lisa pulled out the waistband of the front of Riley's shorts. Shocked, Riley stared at the girl, who was staring at his junk. He tried to speak, but no sound came out of his mouth. She let go of the waistband and it snapped back into place. Come to think of it, my clothes are pretty dirty too, she said, pulling her shirt over her head and smiling seductively at Riley. She wiggled out of her pants, tossing them in the washer, and Riley just kept looking on, salivating. Suddenly, she came up behind him, sniffing the back of his boxers. I think these need to be washed too, she said, pulling his underwear down his legs. Helplessly entranced, he stepped out of his boxers. She then proceeds to tell him how nice his dick is, and she gets completely naked. So what do you think, Sarah? Lisa said towards the door. Riley turned and looked to see another girl about the same age standing there. Hey, what the hell? Riley said, using his hands to conceal his crotch. Relax, Riley. This is my friend, Sarah. We're just here to please you, Lisa said. Oh, I got you, Riley said, smiling ear to ear. I don't know, Lisa. I'm getting a strong closeted vibe off him, Sarah said. How she got a closeted vibe off of... I'm just trying to understand where that came from. So Riley says she need to come over and, do what she's saying she gonna do, and he'll show her closeted. And the girls get to work. But one of the girls get a little too freaky for... See, this is where I'm about to get real confused. So one of the girls start trying to put their finger in Riley's booty hole. And Riley gets very upset, saying, I told you I ain't gay. And he said, you might want to clean your finger off. You know how long it's been since I washed back there? So Sarah put the finger in her mouth. Riley put his hands over his mouth to keep from puking. Now it's a comedy. Okay, that's it. I'm done with you crazy bitches. Give me my shorts. I'm afraid you'll have to wait till the wash is done, Alicia said, pulling at the locked washing machine lid. That is, unless you want the entire building to see your big juicy she said lustfully. Riley blushed, moving his hands to cover his genitals. He was really in a bind now. You see why I said these girls are like space aliens? Like, you came to the public washroom ready to get freaky. Like, where they do that at? You know what? Fuck this. I'd rather everyone see my naked ass than hang with you crazy bitches any longer, he said, unlocking the door. Feisty, I like it, Lisa said, licking her lips. Riley shuddered as he bolted out of the laundry room. Placing his hand over his genitals, he raced up the stairs. His ass was on display, but there wasn't much he could really do about that. He just hoped he wouldn't run into too many people on the way back to Jay's apartment. He passed a few shocked people on his way back upstairs, including a woman and her laughing child, a shocked but yet entranced young woman, and a guy who seemed a little too interested in him. What was it with everyone thinking he was gay? I guess he's talking about the only people who thought he was gay were the two freaky space alien chicks, which I don't even know why they thought that. And if he's talking about Ty never said that he thought he was gay. Ty just blew him on the couch. So it's not making any sense. And I think what bothers me is, how are you uncomfortable and sexually challenged when a woman tries to stick her finger up your butt, but you had no qualms by getting blown by your brother's boyfriend? I'm confused. He burst into Jay's apartment as Ty was just finishing up cooking dinner for the night. Ty just looked at Riley, giving him a disappointed look. Man, you just can't keep your clothes on, can you? Man, it ain't my fault. These crazy blonde bitches, they tricked me and... Whatever, Ty said. I really don't care. Just don't mess where I live, thank you. None of that bullshit. Riley asked Ty if he's feeling all right, and Ty's just like, I'm good. The door closed, and suddenly this sinister smile appeared on Ty's face. Riley studied it for a second before knowing it was going to be a fun week. Ty proclaimed to be tired, as he spent most of the day cooking, cleaning, running errands, and calling Jay every hour on the hour to check on him. It was about midnight. Ty finally fell out and went to sleep. Riley went back to the community laundry room to pick up his clothes he had abandoned earlier in the day. So it's 7 a.m. and it's been 5 days since Jay left to go take care of business in California. And Ty is missing him a whole lot. He can't even, get himself together because he's like, it's not the same as when I'm with Jay. So now Ty is kind of having this character arc of realizing that he's not codependent on Jay, but a lot of what he does is centered around Jay being there. So he's kind of fallen into this itty bitty depression. So he gets up and walks around the house naked and cooks himself breakfast. And when he's done cooking, he's ready to sit down and eat. Riley is just there looking at just all his nakedness. And apparently Ty has just forgotten that Riley was even staying with them. And now they've kind of switched places. Now Ty's just in this mood of I really don't care. And he's walking around naked. But Riley's got clothes on now. Now it says Riley had been avoiding him all day and the day before. He was so out of it he didn't even hear the TV, but he quickly lost any modesty, shrugged his shoulders, and sitting naked on the couch next to Riley. I think that meant Ty had been avoiding Riley. I don't know. That sentence kind of confused me. And they're watching BET, by the way. Now Riley's the one looking at Ty's just full nakedness hanging out. And Ty obviously notices and he's asking Riley, are you okay? If I tell you something, can you promise to keep it a secret? Riley said, looking at Ty intently. Like if it gets out, I'll have to kill you. Ty nodded understandingly, putting his hand on Riley's knee. I might be having, feelings for other dudes. I've been having weird dreams about other homies and thinking back to what we did the other day. I kind of liked it. Riley's cheeks were now bright red and he was staring down at the carpet, not wanting to look Ty in the eye. Does this mean I'm gay? Ty took Riley's head in his hands and brought his eyes back up to meet his own. Not necessarily. More than likely it means you're bisexual. Riley looked back at Ty confused, and Ty rolled his eyes. It means you're attracted to both men and women. Oh, Riley said. In this sentence, I'm like, is this insinuating that Riley's dumb? Because a 19-year-old would know what bisexual is. So they get into this conversation about curiosity and how just being curious doesn't necessarily mean you like guys. And Ty asks Riley, have you ever done anything with a guy before? And Riley says, no, but I kind of want to. Ty says, I could show you a few things. Riley laughed, don't you think you already did that? Ty laughed any harder. So now the story transitions into Riley's kind of gay sexual awakening and Ty just teaching him sex in a healthy way. They then have very passionate, educational sex. I'm not going to go into details, but it's well written. I will give it that. It's very well written. So they have sex and they sleep in the bed together, and Ty wakes up in the middle of the night with Riley sleeping next to him, and he's just basically admiring Riley's body and says something that kind of alludes to the title of the story, but not really, but kind of. I'm not going to share it because it might just be a little too far for YouTube. And the story ends, like literally, that's the story. It ends right there. It ends so abruptly. You know, it's like there's so many questions. Do they feel bad? Like, does Ty feel bad about cheating on Jay? Does Riley feel bad about cheating with his brother's boyfriend? Like, what is going on here? I feel like this story encapsulates a lot of what gay media, especially gay Black media of that time, just was about. It always felt like it wanted to be corn, but it wanted to say that it was better than that. So it tried to have like these plots dealing with sexual awakening and social justice and stuff like that, but it just kind of would still turn out to be like, this is still corn. That's really all it was. And this story was just so all over the place. First, it's just a story about two gay men living together, and then the younger brother comes and, you know, crashes their pad. Then it's about the younger brother just having no boundaries, living in this house, living in this apartment with his brother and his brother's boyfriend. Then his brother's boyfriend has a sexual interaction with him that the story never punishes him for. We look like we're about to have a character arc of Jay seeing that something is wrong with Ty, but then he's kind of like, oh, nope, never mind. Let's just have some really freaky sex. And then there's Riley's sexual awakening, which did not make any sense to me. I'm sorry. I don't know. I do want to read another one of Anthony's books because, like I said, the intimate scenes were very, very well written, but everything else just kind of fell apart. But that's all I have for you guys today. Stay tuned next time for another book review. See ya.